All right, so we are continuing in the book of Romans, chapter 2. The notes that I have the standards of judgments number 6 through number 8. However, I think it'd be pertinent to go back and retouch upon number 5 since it was a very quick squeeze it in before the end, and I have more comments that I want to make about it. So I don't know if we will get to all of it. And because I keep saying that I'm going to be a half hour, but I went 50, I'm going to put my watch here because I know how uncomfortable the metal chairs get. We are going to be reading out of Romans 2 and starting at verse 11, and I do have a lengthy reading this morning, so I apologize. Excuse me. Romans 2 verse 11 starts with, "For there is no respect of persons with God. For as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law, and as many as have sinned in the law shall be judged by the law. For not the hearers of the law are just before God, but doers of the law shall be justified. For when the Gentiles, which have not the law, do by nature the things contained in the law, these, having not the law, are a law unto themselves, which shew the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness in their thoughts, the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another. And the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel. Behold, thou art called a Jew, and restest in the law, and makest thy boast of God, and knowest his will, and approvest the things that are more excellent, being instructed out of the law, and art confident that thou thyself art a guide of the blind, a light of them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, a teacher of babes, which hast the form of knowledge and of the truth in the law. Thou therefore which teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? And that preachest a man should not steal, dost thou steal? Thou that sayest a man should not commit adultery, dost thou commit adultery? Thou that abhorrest idols, dost thou commit sacrilege? Thou that makest thy boast of the law, through breaking the law dishonorest thou God. For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written, For circumcision verily profiteth, if thou keep the law. But if thou be a breaker of the law, thy circumcision is made uncircumcision." Brother Lou, welcome back. Would you please pray for our Sunday school lesson this morning? Amen. You may be seated. So I'm going to ask a rhetorical question, and I'm going to continue doing it anyways. But I'm hoping everyone gets benefit out of a quick recap of where we are before. Romans has a lot in it, and trying to jump back into a section without knowing where we came from, to me anyways, it's not a good learning style for me just to jump into stuff fresh. I have, however, cut down our recap so we're not going back to the very beginning of chapter 1 to Paul's greeting. So, hopefully, this is beneficial to you. Again, rhetorical, I'm going to continue doing it. I just hope there's a benefit to you. So, some highlights is this is not a handbook for us to follow to judge others. We are told specifically not to judge. It is also a clear statement on how the Lord will judge. It is severe, it is just, and it is righteous. And this is also a warning from Paul. It's not just to tell us about what the judgment is. It is designed to prepare us so that we can avoid it. See, a warning is designed to provide an opportunity to change one's actions before consequences. I'm going to say it again. It's designed to stop you from doing something. I'm telling you bad so you don't do bad. If you are walking on the street and you're ready to step off the curb and someone yells car or no or stop or don't, and you don't, and you get hit by a car, you didn't heed the warning. That person yelling that isn't just yelling it because they enjoy yelling a warning. It's designed to keep you safe. Romans 2:4 said, "Or despisest thou the riches of his goodness and forbearance and long-suffering, not knowing that the goodness of God leadeth thee to repentance?" The judgments of God reveal his love. Because he is the sacrifice, it is his blood, he is our high priest, and he is the judge. Now, recapping the first 4, because we're going to spend some time with number 5, It's according to the truth. He is the truth, and it has been revealed. There is no deviation. It has been established. It is judgment without escape. He is sovereign. He is the judge, and we will all be judged. Judgment according to accumulated guilt. If we follow our hearts, we will build up against his lordship, and we will be judged against it. Judged according to deeds. And the Hebrew root is ergon. And I know that because I type things out phonetically. So at least that's what the Blue Letter Bible said it's pronounced as. So if I'm wrong, I'm going to blame them and absolve myself. But that word means works. And the emphasis isn't just on what we do, but the emphasis is that it is our business. It is our occupation. It's what we are about. And I couldn't help but think about what people's last names would actually define what they did. So you have a lot of people whose last names are Smith or Carter, or I'm running out of examples because I didn't write all the examples down, but you typically had your first name and your last name was your occupation, if you were a mason or a carpenter. Matter of fact, at one point they say, isn't this the carpenter's son? Referring to the Lord Jesus, because one's occupation defines you as much as your name. Matter of fact, if I say Bob the Builder, you all know I'm talking about a claymation dude that he can do it. Matthew 5:16 says, let your light so shine before men that they may see your good works. And that's the same word, and glorify your Father which is in heaven. In other words, it's got to be more than a hobby. It's got to be your main occupation. It's got to be what you take on as a name. And then number 5 is the judge is not a respecter of persons. There is no bias in his judgment, and there's no one greater than the other. Simply, we are not better than one another. God is not picking fruit at the local market. I laugh at myself every time when I get there, and on the rare occasion that I'm trying to find a pomegranate for my daughters or the best watermelon, and I get there and the box is already half empty, thinking that I'm smarter than everyone else who's been there and tapped on the fruit and listened for the fruit and opened up Google about how to pick the best pomegranate. All of them are defective. We are all defective. We just don't see the blemishes in all the skin in the same spot. But we all think that we got the best fruit, don't we? No one is viewed as greater than the other in front of the judge, and we have to have that same mindset. James 2:6-10 says, but ye have despised the poor. Do not rich men oppress you and draw you before the judgment seat? Do not they blaspheme that worthy name by which ye are called? If ye fulfill the royal law according to Scripture, thou shalt love thy neighbor as thyself, ye do well. That's a good thing, to love your neighbor. But it says, but if ye have respect to persons, ye commit sin, and are convinced of the law as transgressors. For whosoever shall keep the whole law, and yet offend in one point, he is guilty of all. Romans 2:12, which is part of our text, says, for as many as have sinned without law shall also perish without law, and as many have sinned in a law shall be judged by the law. Well, it's not my fault. The law is wrong. Why is it 55 miles per hour when I go through Harper? Why is it 50 miles per hour when I got to go down Route 2 to exit 6? It makes no sense. If I obey the law, I'm going to get run off the road. If I'm not going 65, I'm going to be put into a guardrail. This law is stupid. How dare this law apply to my life? Right? I mean, I can't be the only one. Whatever gets me justified, whatever justifies my actions, if the law is against it, it's a bad law. But Psalms 19:7 says, the law of the Lord is perfect, converting the soul. The testimony of the Lord is sure, making wise the simple. The statutes of the Lord are right, rejoicing the heart. The commandment of the Lord is pure, enlightening the eyes. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. and the judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. Not only that, it goes on to say is, more to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold, sweeter also than honey in the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping of them there is great reward. I don't know about you, but I don't think I have ever said judgments are sweeter than honey, more desired than gold. And I know that because any possible way I can get out of going to court, even jury duty, then I'm going to try and get out of it. I want nothing to do with going there. But that verse says, all who have sinned without the law shall perish without the law. And all who have sinned under the law will be judged by the law. All have sinned. It is not just whether or not you are under the law or out of it that'll separate you from the judge. It doesn't matter. There's no respect. And I mentioned last week where some of the Jews would actually make the comment that God judges us with one law and judges everyone else with another set of laws. It's not. And we have to have that same mindset. We have to have that in us if we are going to demonstrate his love, because that's his love toward us. In verse 13, we read, for not the hearers of the law are just before God, but the doers of the law shall be justified. And that is the standard number 6. It is judgment according to performance, not profession. Yeah, it's a lot easier to say things than it is to do things, isn't it? Much easier. Especially if you have a conflict on your schedule. Well, I gotta reschedule this because I just don't have time anymore. Keeping your commitments. Read Deuteronomy 6, 1 through 9. Now these are the commandments, the statutes, and the judgments, which the Lord your God commanded to teach you, that ye might do them in the land where ye go to possess it, that thou mightest fear the Lord thy God, to keep all his statutes and his commandments which I commanded thee, thou and thy son and thy son's sons, all the day of thy life, and that thy days may be prolonged. Hear therefore, O Israel, and I'd like to stop right there. Then I'd love to jump to verse 4 and just hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt. Let's just stop with verse 4, and let's skip out the part that we actually have to do anything. I'm fine with just hearing. But it doesn't stop there, is it? Unfortunately, just hearing isn't enough. Hearing isn't what the command is. That's part of it. But it says, hear therefore all Israel, and observe to do it. But I just want to listen. I don't want to actually have to do it. You mean I have to participate? Can't I just audit the class here? Pass, fail? It's no, observe to do it, that it may be well with thee, and that ye may increase mightily, as the Lord God of thy fathers has promised thee, in a land that floweth with milk and honey. See, without the hearing and observing, it is not going to be well, and it's not going to increase mightily. And you're not going to fulfill the promise. It says, hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, and thou shalt love the Lord thy God with all thine heart and all thy soul and with all thy might. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart. Hear it and put it in your heart. Observe it. Make it your guidance. The heart, the center of your being, your motives. Make my word your motives. And these words which I command thee this day shall be in thy heart, and thou shalt teach them diligently unto thy children. So you have to teach them. Thou shalt talk of them when thou sittest in the house. So now we have to talk about them. And when thou walkest by the way, and thou liest down, when thou risest up, and thou shalt bind them upon a sign upon thine hand, and they shall be as frontlets between thy eyes, and thou shalt write them upon the posts of thy house and thy gate. The command did not stop at verse 4. Verse 4 was the first part of it, is to hear what I'm saying so that you can understand it, so that you can comprehend it, and so you can live by it. And the living by it is the performance that we're judged by. I don't know about anybody else, but I have an annual performance review at work. Love it. Great times, where you're basically told of, how well you did the past year, where where you need some improvement, and how well you listen and how well you interact with others. And just, it's such a wonderful time. And I've never had any issues with me. I've never had any issues when I've talked to people that work underneath me. It's just, everyone is so happy. It's like a second Christmas. Because, everything that I've ever been told, I have performed at such a high level. How could I be anything other than exceptional? Now, if you unfortunately haven't had the same experience, it's performance. You're set goals. You're told what to do. And then you get a rating based upon how well you did that. It's not just, well, my job states that I do this, or that you told me to do this. It's, what did I actually do during the year? How did I measure up? What was my performance? How well do I meet the goals set before me? I don't really care for that. Just let me do my job. If there's no problems, leave me alone. Right? Sometimes, when God talks to us, that's kind of the immediate reaction too. Just leave me alone. I'm doing a great job, ain't I? Yeah. I'll tell you this, is anytime that I've really heard from him, it's never been attaboys. It's never, what a great job that you're doing. It's a, listen, I got to talk to you because I'm giving you a warning and I'm telling you what you need to do to have proper relationship with me. And our performance is what is judged. Not how well we profess, not what our goals were established, but what we actually do. Israel, in Isaiah 30, had actually gotten to a place where they didn't even hear. It says in verse 8 of chapter 30, "Now go, write it before them in a table, and note it in a book, that it may be for the time to come forever and ever, that this is a rebellious people, lying children, children that will not hear the law of the Lord, which say to the seers, see not, and to the prophets, prophesy not unto us right things, speak unto us smooth things, prophesy deceits, get you out of the way, turn aside of the path, cause the Holy One of Israel to cease from before us." If you haven't listened, just listening seems like a big deal. And so Paul's talking to the Jewish people at the time, and he's saying, you need to hear and do. Yeah, but you don't understand how far we wait. We didn't even hear, but now we hear. Do you do? We really hear you. Well, what did you do? Well, listen, I understand what you're saying. I comprehend. It's easy to make a boast when you're at 0, when you're at 1. Look how far I've come. Yeah, but you're supposed to be on 99 right now. Yeah, but I'm on step 1. But it's not just hears, it's doing. In verse 14, it says, "For when the Gentiles which have not the law do by nature the things contained in the law, these having not the law are a law unto themselves, which show the work of the law written in their hearts, their conscience also bearing witness, and their thoughts the meanwhile accusing or else excusing one another, in the day when God shall judge the secrets of men by Jesus Christ according to my gospel." Those who never had the law still do the things that are in the law because it was written in the hearts of men. It shows that the law was built into their hearts. And their conscience bears witness. The conscience recognizes the law that was written in their hearts, and our conscience is our soul and its ability to distinguish between right and wrong. The issue is, it is very possible to burn our conscience so that it no longer has any effect. That the things we do wrong, we no longer say, oh, it's wrong, I shouldn't do it. It's just, doesn't matter. And then our thoughts either accuse us or excuse us. our heart, mind, and soul. And God knows what we think. He knows the intents of our heart. He knows what motivates us. And you know, it says the heart's deceitfully wicked. Who can know it? We don't even know the wickedness that's in our hearts. I don't know about you, but the scary thing to me is He knows the secrets of my heart. He knows the corruptions that's there that I am willingly and thankfully blind of. And I'm going to say thankfully blind of because most of the time I don't want to change who I am. I'm sorry. Am I supposed to tell you I love changing who I am? I love it. I can't wait. No. If I wanted to change, I would have. But I can't. But I'm gleefully ignorant of those things until God talks to me and says, hey, this needs to change. And that's why I say, your law is stupid, Lord. Don't you understand? I got to do this because if I'm going any slower, I'm going to be in the guardrail because 55 doesn't make any sense. Your law doesn't make any sense. This is how I survive in this world. This is how I have to live. You don't understand, Lord. If I don't retaliate to people at work, then, they won't respect me. And then, this will happen. It's very easy to justify our own behavior. And the fact that we don't even know what motivates us, and He still knows it. I don't know about you, but I actually have in my notes, and I'm not going to say it out loud, but there's 4 uppercase E's and a K for eek. Because, the things I know about myself, I wouldn't like me. And the things that He knows that are far worse, He still shows love and mercy. How can He judge me on the secrets of my heart, though? I don't even know what I'm doing wrong. What kind of judge is going to judge me on stuff that I don't even know that I'm doing wrong? Ignorance of the law is a great defense. And the reason He can judge our hearts is because He can change our hearts. He can change our motivations. And He knows everything that is going on in our hearts and minds, and He has still made a way of escape for us. He is still love. He is still mercy. I can't help but think of ants. When ants invade. You like ants in your yard? You like ants in the driveway digging up and creating weakness? So there's nothing like, as a kid, seeing ants on a sidewalk and squishing them or getting a magnifying glass and just, for no reason other than they were there. In my mind, a gas can, that's right. I think we've done it out here one time where they were burrowing underneath one of the concrete things and gas and light it, and, it was an interesting experiment. We won't go any more than that. But our knee-jerk reaction is they don't even recognize what's going to happen. And to think that we apply that to our God and ignore His mercy and love for us, that He's just going to, take out the gas can and just pour it all over and just let it burn. I can start over. I'm justified in starting over. Lord, I am not going to submit to your will. Okay. Next. And He'd be justified. He would be right in doing so. But He doesn't. I know it's here. I'm sorry. But that's what I think is, you know what? If I was Him and I was the ant, done. There's 6 billion other chances. We'll get one to work one day. But our judgment is according to our conscience and secrets of our hearts, and He knows them, and He makes a way of escape. Everyone doing good? All right, we are going to go to number 8, because I really want to get it done, and I think we're at like that 23-minute mark. So if you need to stretch and get blood back into your legs, I understand it with the folding table and folding chairs. The 8th standard is judgment according to reality. Not your reality. Not the reality you choose. Not the reality that you're wishing would be there, but reality. Not boast, not knowledge, not assent, not outward factors, not stuff that brings them praise and men, and not your own personally expressed reality. We're in a world where everyone has their own reality, and that's what they want to be judged by, and that's not it. It's not my reality. It's not your reality. It is God's reality. Behold, thou art called a Jew, and restest in the law, and makest thy boast of God. Now, there's some claims here that Paul is putting out, because he's still talking about the conflict between whether or not you were born a Jew, or if you are Hebrew, or if you're Greek, or how should you be serving God? Should you be subject to the original law? There was still the conflict that was there since Acts about being one of the chosen people or not, whether under the law or not. Should you be subject to circumcision or not? And he some claims here, behold, thou art called a Jew. I am his people. I restest in the law, because the law is a comfort to me, and I have the law. And makest thy boast of God, because he is my God. Look at this. I am his people, and he is my God, and the law is good to me. And I know his will, and I approve the things that are more excellent. Because I am his people, I pick the better things in life. Because I am instructed of the law. And maybe I'm reading too much of myself in it, but I do get kind of a snooty air of the people making these claims. Look how good I am. And I am a guide to the blind, a light to them which are in darkness, an instructor of the foolish, which is clearly anyone other than myself. I am a teacher of babes, which has the form of knowledge and of the truth and law. Sound pretty good, don't I, on paper? Sounds pretty great. It says, thou therefore that teachest another, teachest thou not thyself? You make all these claims, but have you stopped in a minute to take a look in the mirror? You're increasing in knowledge. Have you applied it to yourself, or are you only applying it to others? Are you void of that? Thou preachest a man should not steal, but do you steal? Thou sayest a man shouldn't commit adultery. Dost thou commit adultery? You say you abhor idols. You abhor any vain imagination of God, but you commit sacrilege. Thou that makest the boast of thy law, through breaking the law, you dishonorest God. But you call yourself his chosen people. For the name of God is blasphemed among the Gentiles through you, as it is written. You do the things you judge against, which was the very warning Paul said is don't judge because you reveal who you are. And not just to the Jew, but this is take to everyone. Anyone who's reading the gospel should say this, is that same mentality. It doesn't matter who you are. It's the same mentality throughout mankind. Don't come and tell me how to do what I'm doing, because I know how to do what I'm doing the best. In full disclosure, me and my father could never work together on stuff. Never. I love my dad. We never saw eye to eye. I did sheet metal for about 10 years, and I was putting in his warm air furnace and putting it in. My dad did concrete, and he worked hard, and he did a lot of mechanical stuff. But he came downstairs to tell me how I should make metal transitions and how I should install the furnace. I offered to buy him lunch so he could go upstairs and eat it and stay up there. Because I know what I'm doing. Go upstairs. We were building a shed at our house, replacing a shed. And because of this immediate feeling that I had, he's like, your flooring's wrong. It's backwards. I'm like, no, it's not. He goes, no, it's backwards. I'm like, no, it's not. And he goes, no, stop for a second. You know what? He was right. But how hear he tell me, who knows how to build sheds, even though I never built a shed before, but I was the expert on building it. And at that point, he then took over And I had to take frequent stops because my heart rate got up to 189 beats per minute working with him. And then, I hope this isn't sacrilegious to say, but I think God definitely has a sense of humor because then it downpoured and got windy. So not only was my heart racing, then I was drenched for the next 2 hours, finishing it head to toe in a downpour. I couldn't work with him because I knew everything. And he knew everything. And there's no room for two people who know everything. And to have that mindset is, I know everything I need to know about God. You don't tell me. I know everything about the law. I know everything about what God commanded me. So when God speaks to me, who are you to tell me I know everything, Lord? Who are you to tell me I don't know you? Who are you to tell me about you? I know who you are. How dare anybody else tell me? How dare anybody else interrupt my sphere of my bubble in life? How dare anybody be able to tell me anything? I can tell you not to steal. I can tell you not to commit adultery. I can tell you what's exactly wrong in the law. But don't you tell me. You do the things you judge against. You say all the things. You make all the claims. You act pious. But the actions blaspheme God. And you speak evil and you misrepresent him. That is judgment according to reality. Not our perceptions of what we do, but what we really do. And the fact that we were relying on his guidance to make sure that we are not boasting and we are not out of line. And we have seen the standards that God has declared for his judgment and the opportunity that he also provides to run to him. So I'm going to close with a verse that we read earlier from Psalms 19. The fear of the Lord is clean, enduring forever. The judgments of the Lord are true and righteous altogether. More to be desired are they than gold, yea, than much fine gold. Sweeter also than honey in the honeycomb. Moreover, by them is thy servant warned, and in keeping them there is great reward. So they are severe. They are daunting. It is scary when you see the all-consuming fire that our God is. But in keeping them, there is great reward. Brother Steve, would you pray dismissal for us this morning?